The attacks came in the dark, a coordinated wave of violence across 3 separate theaters of war, a symphony conducted from Tehran. Within the last 12 hours, American forces and interests were targeted by precision drones, anti-ship missiles, and put on notice by a battle-hardened army. These were not random acts of terror by disparate groups. This was a message, written in fire and steel. The question is no longer if Iran is at war with the United States, but has Tehran just given the final order to bleed America out of the Middle East, one cut at a time? The first cut came just before dawn. At Al-Assad Air Base in Iraq's Anbar province, the air raid sirens screamed to life. It was too late. A swarm of one-way attack drones, identified as Iranian-made Shahed 136 variants, slammed into the base's perimeter. Seconds later, 160 kilometers to the east, Tower 22 in Jordan reported impacts. Then, the big one, Al-Tanf garrison, the critical American choke point in the Syrian desert, was hammered. Explosions rocked the sand-blown outpost. The C-RAM system, a last line of defense, spun to life, spitting a torrent of 20mm rounds into the darkness. But the swarm was too dense, the attack angle too precise. This was not the work of amateurs. For years, the drone attacks launched by Iranian-backed militias were nuisance raids, inaccurate, easily defeated, and designed more for headlines than for casualties. But this was different. The drones flew complex, terrain-hugging flight paths, evading radar detection until the final moments. They targeted critical nodes, fuel depots, communication arrays, and aircraft hangars. This level of sophistication and intelligence-driven targeting points to one source: the direct command and control of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Quds Force. They provided the intelligence. They planned the routes. They gave the order to launch. As damage assessment teams scrambled in the smoking ruins of Al-Tanf, the Second Front opened 800 miles to the south. In the strategic choke point of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the artery through which 10% of global trade flows, the container ship MV Liberty, a United States-flagged tanker, sent a frantic distress call. Missile launch detected. Bearing 350. Impact imminent. Yemen's Houthi rebels, Iran's proxy army on the Arabian Peninsula, had fired. This was not one of their crude, homemade rockets. Intelligence confirms it was a Noor anti-ship cruise missile, a direct copy of a Chinese design, supplied by Tehran. It streaked low over the waves, a sea-skimming killer. The USS Carney, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer on patrol nearby, reacted in seconds. Its AEGIS combat system acquired the threat. An SM-2 interceptor missile roared from its launch cell, a multi-million-dollar shield against a weapon costing a fraction of the price. The intercept was successful. Debris rained into the Red Sea, but the strategic objective was already achieved. This is the very essence of Iran's strategy: asymmetric warfare. Tehran knows it cannot defeat the United States Navy in a conventional battle. It doesn't have to. By using the Houthis as a deniable cutout, it can threaten global shipping, force American warships to expend their limited and highly expensive missile stockpiles, and drive insurance premiums for maritime commerce through the roof. It is economic warfare disguised as a proxy conflict, designed to make the cost of securing the seas prohibitively expensive for Washington. But as American assets were burning in Syria and dodging missiles in the Red Sea, the most dangerous front of all was quietly being prepared. And the signal came not from a drone launch, but from a single, chilling order issued in the mountains of Lebanon. Hezbollah, the crown jewel of Iran's proxy network, has placed its elite Radwan force on its highest level of alert. This is not a militia. The Radwan force is a highly disciplined, special operations unit, with more combat experience than many national armies. They were blooded in the Syrian civil war, fighting alongside Russian and Iranian forces. They are trained, equipped, and funded directly by the IRGC. Their sole purpose, their entire reason for being, is to wage a devastating war against Israel. Putting them on high alert is not a symbolic gesture. It means thousands of fighters are moving from their barracks to pre-designated, fortified positions along the Blue Line, separating Lebanon and Israel. It means their vast arsenal of over 150,000 rockets and missiles, many of them precision-guided, is being prepped for launch. It means anti-tank teams are taking up positions in hidden bunkers, sighting in on Israeli patrol routes. This is Iran's strategic trump card. An attack by Hezbollah on Israel would trigger a catastrophic regional war. The United States would be inexorably drawn in to defend its ally, forcing the Pentagon into the very two-front conflict it has spent decades trying to avoid. By putting Radwan on alert, Tehran is holding a gun to the head of the entire region. It is strategic blackmail on a global scale, daring the US and Israel to react, knowing that any reaction could trigger an inferno. The drone swarms in Syria and Iraq. The missile launch in the Red Sea. The Radwan alert on the Blue Line. Viewed in isolation, they are manageable crises. But view them on a timeline, a 12-hour window of synchronized aggression, and the picture changes. This is not chaos. This is coordination. A central command in Tehran is pulling the strings, activating each node of its axis of resistance with chilling precision. Sources inside CENTCOM are now operating under the assumption that this is a Phase 1 operation, designed to test American responses and fix U.S. assets in place. The coordination is undeniable. The intent seems clear, but a new piece of intelligence, just emerging in the last hour, may reveal the true trigger for this operation. And it's not what Washington expected. It points directly to a high-stakes meeting that took place 72 hours ago in a fortified IRGC compound just outside Tehran, deep within a command bunker, shielded from satellite and signals intelligence. The plan was reportedly finalized. Present were not only the senior leadership of the IRGC Quds Force, but also hand-picked liaisons from Hezbollah's Jihad Mughniya unit, top commanders from the Iraqi Kataib Hezbollah, and a Houthi operational planner. The order handed down by Iran's supreme leadership was not for a direct, all-out war. It was for something far more insidious. They allegedly call it the death by 1,000 cuts strategy. A protracted, multi-front, low to mid-intensity conflict designed to do one thing: raise the political, economic, and human cost for the United States to maintain its military presence in the Middle East to an unsustainable level. No single attack would be a casus belli, a clear-cut reason for a massive American retaliation against Iran itself. But cumulatively, the constant drone attacks, the disruption to shipping, the threat of a major war in the Levant, and the steady trickle of American casualties would drain Washington's will to fight. The goal is not to defeat America in a battle, but to make it bleed until it chooses to leave on its own. This strategy creates an impossible dilemma for American policymakers. A massive retaliatory strike against Iran itself would risk the full-scale, region-wide war that the Pentagon fears, and that Iran's leadership may secretly welcome to consolidate their power. Yet, a weak response, another round of targeted strikes on empty militia warehouses in Syria, would be seen as weakness. It would embolden the axis of resistance, proving to them that their strategy is working, that they can attack American forces with relative impunity. It is a perfectly calibrated strategic trap. Washington is responding, but it is reacting. The Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group is being repositioned in the Eastern Mediterranean. A squadron of F-22 Raptors, the world's most advanced air superiority fighters, has been deployed to Qatar. But these are defensive moves, chess pieces being shifted in response to an opponent's aggressive opening gambit. The United States is playing defense, but Iran's axis is still on the attack. Washington is caught in a trap of its own making. But while the strategists in the Pentagon weigh their impossible options, the axis of resistance is not waiting. A second wave is already in motion, and the target this time is not a military base or a tanker. It's something far more vulnerable and far more symbolic. In the last 30 minutes, port authorities at Jebel Ali in the UAE and the King Abdulaziz port in Dammam, Saudi Arabia, began reporting catastrophic failures in their logistics and crane operation systems. It's a cyber attack. Data streams are being corrupted. Container manifests are being wiped. The entire flow of commerce is grinding to a halt. This is the unseen battlefield, designed to punish America's regional allies, sow chaos in the global economy, and prove that Iran's reach extends far beyond the physical realm. While this digital assault unfolds, Iran's diplomats are launching their own offensive, denying all involvement and calling for calm. It is a masterful display of political gaslighting, creating a fog of confusion while their proxies continue to strike. Back in the Red Sea, the crew of the USS Carney is not focused on cyberspace. Having just defended the tanker, their tactical screens light up with new alerts. 2 new radar contacts, low and fast, have appeared from the direction of the Yemeni coast. They are not missiles. Their speed and signature match intelligence on Iranian-made high-speed explosive surface drones. They are closing on the Carney's position, skimming the waves to avoid detection. At the exact same moment, A priority flash message from the Special Operations Task Force at Al-Tanf garrison screams across CENTCOM networks. Ground movement. Dozens of technicals pickup trucks mounted with heavy machine guns are massing just outside the 55-kilometer deconfliction zone. They are flying the flags of known Iranian-backed militias. They are not attacking. They are just sitting there, watching a wall of guns, waiting for an order. This isn't a second wave. It's the pincer closing. The pincer closing. But what is it closing on? For the last hour, intelligence analysts at the NSA had been chasing a ghost in the machine. A single, encrypted data packet that piggybacked on the cyber attack against the Gulf ports. It wasn't part of the main assault. It was something else entirely. A whisper in a hurricane. This signal didn't originate in Tehran. It originated from within the axis of resistance, and it asked a single, chilling question in a cipher no one had ever seen before. Is the asset codenamed Babylon contained? Suddenly, the entire picture shifts. The 1,000 cuts. The strategic exhaustion. Was it all a lie? A brilliant piece of misdirection? Who is Babylon? And why is Iran's entire war machine being risked not to push America out, but to hunt down a single, unknown entity? The operation was never about the bases or the ships. It was a manhunt. On a scale never before imagined. The drone boats racing towards the USS Carney, the militias at Al-Tanf. They're not an attacking force. They're a dragnet, designed to seal every possible escape route. The United States isn't just caught in a trap. It's been made an unwitting jailer in a plot it doesn't understand. For a prisoner, it didn't even know it had. The real war is happening in the shadows. The message from the NSA screams down a fiber optic line, a desperate attempt to outrun the chaos its sender has just unleashed. The name, Babylon, is being decrypted in real time. He is not a weapon, he is a man. General Alireza Hamadani, the architect of Iran's entire asymmetric warfare doctrine, the ghost who designed the very machine now hunting him. On the bridge of the USS Carney, the world has shrunk to the size of a radar screen. The first drone boat is 75 seconds out. Phalanx CIWS guns spin up, a terrifying mechanical growl. The captain has no idea he is the guardian of the most valuable defector in modern history, a man currently sedated in his sickbay, registered as a rescued fisherman found adrift 2 days ago. The Carney's main gun fires a thunderous salvo. The sea erupts in a plume of white water. But the drone boat jinks impossibly fast. It's not a simple explosive drone. It's being piloted. The phalanx opens up, a torrent of tungsten shredding the air. The drone boat vanishes in a ball of fire and shrapnel. But it was a feint. The second drone boat used the explosion as cover. It slams into the Carney's stern, but the detonation is smaller than expected. It's a shaped charge, designed not to sink, but to breach, to open a door. From the smoke, grappling lines fire onto the deck. Black-clad figures begin to scale the hull. This is not a suicide attack. It's a boarding party. Inside the Pentagon, the decryption of Hamadani's last message to his handlers arrives. The cage is real. The strategy is real. They will burn the world to kill the architect. The generals in the Situation Room stare in stunned silence. The 1,000 cuts weren't a strategy to defeat America. They were the activation sequence for the world's largest prison. Aboard the Carney, the message finally breaks through the jamming. The captain's eyes go wide as he reads it. Asset Babylon is on board. Code word: fishermen. Repel boarders. Priority 1. He grabs the intercom, his voice cutting through the battle noise. All hands. This is the captain. Boarders on the fantail. They are after the man in sick bay. Seal the medical bay. Now. The fight is a brutal, close-quarters affair in the narrow corridors of a warship. American sailors against Iranian special forces. But the objective is clear. The Iranians are not trying to take the ship. They are fighting their way with surgical precision towards one location. The chaos was a key. The drone boat was a battering ram. The militias at Al-Tanf, a wall. It was all for this moment. As a Marine security team arrives at the sickbay door, they see they are too late. The door has been breached. Inside, General Hamadani, Babylon, stands facing the last 2 of his hunters. He looks past them, to the Americans in the doorway. He offers a small, tired nod, a look of grim apology. He was the architect of chaos. And in the end, it found him. He doesn't reach for a weapon. He simply clicks his teeth together. A flicker of blue light from a subdermal implant at his temple is the only warning. The blast is contained but absolute. The war for Babylon is over. The prize is lost to everyone. In the silence that follows, the militias at Al-Tanf begin to withdraw. The cyber attacks cease. The phantom war, its purpose extinguished, evaporates into the night. The world was brought to the brink. not for oil, not for territory, not for ideology, but to erase a single man and the secrets he carried. The front lines we see on the news are often just a distraction, a grand piece of theater for a war being fought in whispers and shadows. To understand the real conflict, you have to look past the smoke. This is the new front, and the old rules no longer apply. To see behind the curtain, to understand the wars that are never declared, subscribe to Breaking_the_Front.